What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sideswipe the Boss back at it again with another tier list. And as promised, here is the second half of the Transformers tier list of the Transformers movies. And we're doing the main robots, the main Transformers, both Autobots and Decepticons. I was thinking about maybe splitting that up too, but then I realized that the Decepticons, even though there's a lot of them, not a lot of them have personalities, and there's also not a lot of Autobots with personalities too. So I just decided to do the main Autobots and Decepticons and the ones that at least have some hint of a personality in them. So without further ado, let's get into it. And if you do end up enjoying this video, just hit that like button. It takes 2 seconds. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Every little subscriber counts. Every day we get closer to 1,000 subscribers. So keep on liking, keep on subscribing, and the support would be very appreciated. So first up, we got Megatron, leader of the Decepticons. And I would put him in the S tier if it wasn't for his little trip as Galvatron. Galvatron wasn't really the strongest form of Megatron, not even by a long shot. I thought he would have been cool when they announced him in the trailers and stuff, but it really wasn't meant to be. But other than that, Megatron is a definitely very good villain. Not the actually, maybe the best of the Transformers series, but we'll see as we go. So he's going to go in the A tier. Next up, we got Bumblebee. And Bumblebee is one of the GOATs of Transformers. He be having the best fight scenes. He has the best connections with the humans. And he's just awesome overall. I don't really have a movie where he was a down of the movie. He really wasn't up all 6 times. So he's going to go in the S tier for sure. Even though I don't think he's going to end up at the top of it, though, it's still good that he ended up in the S tier. Next up, we have Soundwave. And Soundwave was a pretty decent villain. I mean, he was just in space for the whole part of Transformers 2. Then he showed up on Earth in Transformers 3. He had a decent, car form, a decent looking form, robot form. But then he died in his first fight scene, which it kind of really wasn't too much of a fight scene. I mean, he was blasted and then he got blown up from the inside. But he was an alright villain nonetheless. So he's going to go in the C tier. Next up, we have Quintessa, and Quintessa was bad. She was really bad. I don't know who played Quintessa, who voiced Quintessa, but it was really bad. It was over the top. I don't really even remember her motivation from the movie. Wasn't it to destroy Unicron or something like that? I think that's what it was. If it's more complex than that, let me know in the comments, but I didn't like her, not one bit. And she went out easy. Even though she didn't die, she still lost the fight easily. So she's going to go in the F tier. I did not like her character, not one bit. Next up, we have Hound from Transformers 4 and 5. And he's a pretty funny character. And he be having some decent fight scenes too. But that's really all his character entitles. He's going to go in the C tier, but above Soundwave. Next up, we have Mirage, or Dino Mirage, and he didn't really do much at all in the one movie he was in. I mean, he had that cool little scene during that chase with the dreads, but other than that, that's really all his character did, and he barely talked either. So he's going to go in the D tier. Next up, we have Crosshairs, and Crosshairs was one of my favorite parts of Transformers 4. He was probably the funniest character. He had a very cool scene, when they were fighting the ships over Chicago, and then he jumped off and did that. That scene was cool. And he didn't really do too much in Transformers 5, but he was still cool nonetheless. So he's going to go in the B tier. Next up, we have Brains. And Brains was basically a comedy relief character. I mean, he didn't really do anything except, help Wheelie take that ship down in Transformers 3. Then, he provided some exposition in Transformers 4. But other than that, he didn't really do too much. And honestly, Wheelie was funnier than Brains, to be honest. So he's going to go in the D tier, but below Mirage. Next up, we have Barricade. And this is the Decepticon that just won't die. Like, literally. We thought he died in the first Transformers movie, but then he turned up at the final battle for like 1 second, really. Like, then he like drove off or something. Then we all thought he died in the Battle of Chicago in Transformers 3. Then he showed up in Transformers 5, this awesome looking form. And then he just disappeared again after, well, he got shot into a building or something. He didn't die, but he just didn't show up after that. Is he still out there? I'm not really sure. His character is a weird one. But, you know, the fact that he survived that long says something about his character. So he's going to go in the mid C tier. Next up, we have Ironhide. And Ironhide was so awesome. Rest in peace to him, because he died in the most bogus way possible. He got shot in the back, literally. He got shot in the back twice, then shot in the heart with a rusting gun by Sentinel Prime. He was awesome. I don't know why they killed him off. Honestly, I feel like Hound was kind of his replacement when they killed him off in the third movie, but still, he was awesome in the other two movies, and for the part he was in the third. So he's going to go at the top of the A tier for me. Next up, we have Wheelie. And like I said, Wheelie is a little more funnier than Brains. He was in Transformers 2 and 3, and I think he made a cameo in 5, but then disappeared out of nowhere. And, you know, he also didn't do too much either, except help Brains take that ship down in Transformers 3. So he's also going to go in the D tier, but above Brains, just because he is a little funnier than Brains. Next up, we have Stinger, and Stinger was awesome. He didn't talk at all, but he was, you know, he got down to business. He was always kind of lucking out whenever there was huge bombs or blasts and stuff like that, until, you know, Bumblebee took him out. But, you know, Bumblebee had a personal grind to axe to grind with that Stinger. But he was still cool nonetheless, so he's going to go in the B tier, but below Crosshairs. Now, if you don't know where this next character is going, are you really paying attention to my channel at all? Do I even have to say anything? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I'll say something anyway. Sideswipe is in the S tier. He is the GOAT. Awesome. The best ever. Next up, we have Sentinel Prime, and he's the villain of Transformers 3. I don't really consider him as threatening as Megatron, but he was still a cool villain nonetheless. I mean, he had a cool rivalry with Optimus Prime, some cool fight scenes as well. So he's going to go, I'll put him at the top of the B tier. Next up, we have Lockdown, and Lockdown was awesome. I feel like maybe after Megatron, he's my favorite villain of like the Transformers series. He got down to business. He was no joke. He was out here murking fools left and right. And then he died at the end. But, you know, all of the Transformers villains usually die at the end. So that's not really his fault. But he was just awesome nonetheless. So he's going to go at the bottom of the A tier. Next up, we have Q. And, you know, he was in Transformers 3. It's kind of like I forgot what the character's name is in like the James Bond movies. Oh, wait a minute. I see now why they named him Q. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you know, he made some cool gadgets, but he didn't really do anything else other than that. And he died at like, I think midway through the third act. So he's going to go just below Dino in the D tier. Next up, we have Hot Rod from Transformers 5, and that accent was really annoying. I was really hoping they would like fix that or something. That accent was really annoying, but he was a cool character. He had an awesome car form. I think it was a Lamborghini. Then, you know, he has some cool weapons, especially that slow time down gun, that time slower gun or whatever. But yeah, he was a cool character nonetheless. So he's gonna go below Barricade in the C tier. Next up, we have Laserbeak, and Laserbeak scared me as a kid. Really, when I saw this movie, I think I was 10 years old when I saw Transformers 3. Oh, Laserbeak scared me so much. I think I had to leave the theater because I was scared of Laserbeak. But, as I grew up, saw he wasn't really that scary. But he was still kind of threatening nonetheless. Like, it's weird that a bird Decepticon is one of the most threatening ones out there. Maybe not to the actual robots, but definitely to the humans for sure. So he's going to go at the top of the C tier for me. Next up, we got Cogman. He was like the butler-ish character to Anthony Hopkins' character in Transformers 5. And, he was funny. He wasn't too funny, but he was kind of funny. And then, he had some cool moments as well, randomly coming with that gun out of nowhere. Then, driving the car like a maniac and stuff. So he's going to go at the bottom of the C tier for me. Next up, we got the leader for freedom himself, Optimus Prime. And he's going in the mid S tier because Optimus is the GOAT after Sideswipe, of course. But he's awesome. I don't even got to say too much. Next up, we got Ratchet. And Ratchet, he was an alright character. His role became less and less significant as the movies went along. Like, he played a big part in the first one, then a smaller one in the second one, then a smaller one in the third one. Then he died in the fourth one, which sucked. But, he was still a cool character nonetheless for when he was around. So he's going to go just below Barricade in the C tier. Next up, we got Mudflap. And Mudflap was the less funnier of the twins. He did have that fight scene in Transformers 2 with Devastator. Even though he didn't really do that much damage, it was still kind of cool regardless. But he's going to go below Q in the D tier. Next up, we have Starscream. And Starscream was so whiny. It was still funny regardless. I don't know why they got him shaped like a whole Dorito chip, like literally. But he was still cool nonetheless. He lasted longer than I thought he would. So he's going to go... I'll put him below Ratchet in the C tier. Next up, we have The Fallen. And honestly, even though Transformers 2 is my favorite Transformers movie, it's not really because of The Fallen. The Fallen wasn't that good of a villain to me. Yes, he kind of was threatening. He did pose a decent threat. But I don't know. He didn't really have a great characterization. Then he was kind of taken out easily. For being the one bot that took out all the primes, could fend off all the primes. He didn't really pose too much of a threat to Optimus at the end. So he's going to go... I'll put him at the top of the D tier. Next up, we have Drift. And Drift was a cool character. He didn't really... did he get a voice change in between Transformers 4 and Transformers 5? Did the voice actors change or something? Because that was weird. Then he turned red. It was out of nowhere. He honestly didn't do nothing in Transformers 5. All his character moments really came in Transformers 4, to be honest. But he was still kind of cool nonetheless. He's going to go, though, at the bottom of the C tier. Next up, we got Skids. And Skids was the funnier out of the two twins, for sure. But also, he didn't really do too much either. And he was also a part of that fight scene against Devastator with Mudflap, but he didn't really do as much as Mudflap, but still. He was still kind of the funnier out of the two twins. So he's going to go above Q in the D tier. Next up, we got Jetfire. And Jetfire, he was an alright character. He was more about exposition and telling stories and stuff. But, he did have a decent fight scene in the final battle. It didn't really last too long, but it was still cool nonetheless. So he's going to go... I'll put put him just below Hot Rod in the C tier. Honestly, I might move some of these characters up to the B tier just to give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll see at the end, though. And finally, we have Jazz from the first Transformers movie. I really thought he was going to last longer than he did, but he didn't. And, I mean, he didn't really do too much either. And his 1 or 2 fight scenes, they didn't last long at all. I think his final fight scene, he died. So, he really wasn't the best character of that movie. So, he's going to go at the bottom of the C tier. So, I did change a few of the places around just to give a few more characters the benefit of the doubt. So I did move a few more characters up a tier. But here's the list, folks. F tier, we have Quintessa. D tier, we have The Fallen, Dino Mirage, Skids, Q, Mudflap, Wheelie, and Brains. C tier, we have Ratchet, Starscream, Hot Rod, Jetfire, Soundwave, Cogman, Drift, and Jazz. B tier, we have Crosshairs, Stinger, Laserbeak, Hound, and Barricade. A tier, we have Ironhide, Megatron, Lockdown, and Sentinel Prime. And in the S tier, we have my boy Sideswipe, Optimus Prime, and Bumblebee. So that's the list, folks. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section down below what your tier list would be. Would you change it a lot? Would you keep it the same? Just let me know that in the comment section down below. Also, let me know what tier list you would like to see next. And if you did enjoy this video, just hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.